This is video 3 of interim 3. This is explaining a proof of Pythagorean theorem and its converse. So what we're going to be working on is thinking about the Pythagorean theorem itself, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But it says explain its converse as well. So what that also means is that if you have a right triangle, for example, a right triangle here, then if you square the side of A and you add it to the square of side B, you will get the square of side C. But what it also means, the converse means that, well, if you don't know if a triangle is a right triangle, let's say I see this triangle right here, and I'm like, well, it might be a right triangle, it might not be, I'm not sure. Maybe this is a right angle, I can't really tell. Well, if you're not sure, you can take side A, take side B, and side C would be the longest side, and you would say, well, is this true? Is a squared plus b squared equal to, I'm going to put a question mark because we're not sure, is it equal to c squared? Well, if you put in a and b and c and this is true, then we say yes, it is a right triangle. If this is not true, if it doesn't equal c squared, then we say no, it is not a right triangle. So let's do that over here. Circle which of the following triangles is not a right triangle. So let's test triangle A. You know, it looks like this is a right angle, but who knows? Maybe these side lengths don't actually show that it is a right triangle. Let's check. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared, Pythagorean theorem. 10 is the longest side, so that must be c. Doesn't matter which one is which. This could be a or b, this could be a or b, it doesn't matter as long as they're both legs. So a is 6 squared, b is 8, and we square it, equals c is 10, so we square it. Let's see if this is true. 6 squared is 36. Plus 8 squared is 64, and 10 squared is 100. So we're going to say, is this true? We'll put a question mark here, question mark, question mark. 30 plus 60 is 90, 6 plus 4 is 10, and 90 and 10 make 100. Is it true that 100 equals 100? Yes, it is. So I do know that this must be a right triangle because the Pythagorean theorem is true for this triangle. So look, this must be a right angle right here between the two legs. So yes, this is a right triangle. But this is a little tricky. It wants us to circle which ones are not a right triangle. So we're not going to circle this one because this one is a right triangle. And our evidence shows we'll say yes, right triangle. Some of those not questions can be really tricky, so make sure you always underline the word not because it gets a little confusing. All right, next, triangle B. This says the side length is not a whole number. The side length is the square root of 3, square root of 8, square root of 11. So we have to be really careful with that. Square root of 11 is the longest side, so let's say that's C. We'll switch this up this time. It doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B as long as they're both legs. So this time we have A is square root of 8. We're going to square that. Plus B is square root of 3. We're going to square that. Equals C squared. Square root of 11 is C, and we're going to square that. Do a little side note here so you can keep track of this thinking. Let's say this was the square root. It's not, but let's give an example. The square root of 25 squared, so you can keep track of what I'm about to do here. What is the square root of 25? It's 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So this says 5 squared. Square root of 25 is 5. What is 5 squared? Well, 5 squared is just 25, isn't it? So keep track of what I just did. What is the square root of 25? It's 5. What is 5 squared? It's 25. So the square root of 25 squared gets 25. Another way of saying that is the square root of a number and squaring a number, those are two opposite things. It's like adding 3 to 25 and then taking away the 3. It's undoing the square root, so we end up just with 25. So take a look down here. Same idea down here. We've got the square root of 8, which is some number, 2 point something, squared. Well, that's going to be 8 again. The square root of 3 squared is 3. The square root of 11 squared is 11. 8 plus 3 is 11. Well, that's also a right triangle. The right angle must be between the two legs. So it says circle which of the following is not a right triangle. Well, neither one of these are not right triangles, so we're not going to circle either one of them. So again, if you're struggling with this, you can go on to Khan Academy, you can look up Standard 8 G6, you can talk to your teacher, go to Morning Math, ask for extra help, or work on your math enrichment class on this topic as well. Please add this to your toolkit if it's something you need to help to remember.